All right, everyone. The other day it was revealed that Bernie Sanders still has some snippets from, I guess, like a Valley News article or something on his campaign website, fairly dated at this moment. But it's like pro-Venezuela, and it's basically talking about how, oh, well, people in like, Venezuela and Ecuador are living the American dream more than people here. Basically the usual bullshit that's given to you by socialists here. Socialists and non-socialist nations do that, and then they pretend like it's not socialism once their illusions are revealed for what they are, which is the case, of course, now in Venezuela. Now, with Venezuela's situation rapidly deteriorating, basically they've switched from, at first they're like, Venezuela's real socialism, it's wonderful, it's great. It starts having problems, then they say basically it's not real socialism, Maduro's doing other shit, and now they've switched, and by default they're pretending it's a coup. Oh my god, the CIA is getting our country invaded and stuff like that. You got to realize there were no significant sanctions on Venezuela because the U.S. really likes oil until very recently, until this year. So their economy was collapsing years and years ago. And it was funny to see, like in Nicaragua, I remember there was an article, I think it was in March or February, if I remember. There was an article on that saying, well, and basically it was a shining example of a wonderful workers' utopia, but now that they've got, like, basically riots and food shortages and crazy shit. And that's not real socialism either. They tried to label it actually hyper-capitalistic. It's funny. Okay, the state and or collectives own pretty much everything, but it's a capitalistic system. Okay. It's the no true leftism fallacy. You implement some leftist economic plan and it remains leftism until around the moment that it starts going sour because of its own structural problems. That's basically how it works. But here's how Sanders will spin it. Sanders, and there's a link in the description to what was said there. Crowder actually shouted it out. Here's what I think he'll do. If he's confronted at all, and the legacy media is not going to ask him any hard questions about it because they like him because he happens to be like them, wealthy and older. What he'll say essentially is, well, that represents Venezuela back when it was doing well. It's not real socialism, or he'll say he was misled or something, or he'll say that recently it stopped being socialism. Oh, Maduro, socialism isn't what caused their problems, or he'll default to the CIA coup bullshit too. It's possible. It's just less likely that he would use that particular line. But I mean, he is a socialist. He apologizes for it constantly. He seems to think that it's a virtuous system, which it's not, but, there are people that are delusional in the world. Unfortunately, we have to deal with the fact that not everyone in the world is as refined as we are mentally, so... We've got some, unfortunately, you look throughout history, it's peppered with all sorts of people who were in positions of power or representation who were basically morons. Or they sold their countries out and crazy shit like that. Or they enacted coups against their own governments when it wasn't deserving. Or they opposed a coup attempt when it was. Like some uprising against an authoritarian communist regime or something, and then they become like, basically a traitor to their own people by backing it anyway. You'd think of like, wasn't it the Moscow coup attempt or something when some pro-communistic forces tried to supplant things there. I can't even remember the year. I'm a little bit dusty on my late Cold War history, so to speak. I only knew of it in the first place because I listened to the Moscow coup attempt number station broadcast that sounded really creepy and weird. By the way, number stations and stuff like shortwave is great. Like, you turn on the... there's one, I think, over in Belgium or the Netherlands or something, and they have like a huge-ass antenna, and you can listen to stuff from all over the world online. It's pretty great. I think it was called U20 or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. I mean, it might be Dutch or Belgian. But Bernie Sanders is definitely going to shy away from this fight. I can't imagine that if he's smart, he would want to engage people too much on the Venezuela question. And here's really what's got him and other people that have embraced sort of the further left economic views like a Kamala Harris or an AOC. Here's what's got them concerned. The 2020 election is looming and Venezuela's falling apart. Nicaragua is arguably falling apart. That could be a real big hit for anyone who endorses leftism simply because of the strategic optics. You're running against Trump. He's already called out socialism. That, by the way, was a big win, at least with his core fans. It's going to be fodder for him in the campaign if Venezuela... He'll probably point it out even if it's just still having problems, and I can assure you that it will. Venezuela will probably enter at least a temporary death spiral, essentially, until some group of people from the outside get involved, which I oppose, but it may happen anyway if the situation gets dire enough. Or you have enough dissident activity within the country, things bottom out totally, and then they have to basically rebuild from the ashes. That's unfortunately sort of the situation you're looking at there. So I expect Bernie Sanders will laughably come out with some sort of excuse to exonerate why that material's there. Probably quietly scrub it off the website too. Oh yeah, it doesn't represent my views anymore. That was when they were doing well. I want people to have the toasters and the ice cream and stuff. It's kind of hard to have ice cream in that climate. Although Venezuela supposedly has a much more temperate climate, apparently. Like, a lot of it is, like, heavily arable and almost fairly nice and temperate. Which is funny because, I mean, look at its particular location. part of the southern tip of it is part of the Amazon rainforest, so keep that in mind. It's also got a lot of rocky mountains, I believe, which is funny. We think of it as maybe like low rolling tropical hills with a lot of banana trees and shit like that. I don't even know if they grow bananas there. Maybe they should look into diversifying the economy. It'd be a good thing. And it's funny to see all the socialism apologists like try to dogpile me whenever I make a video about this. Like, wow, it's a coup. How would you feel if a coup happened in your country? It's not a coup. Well, I mean, it is now in the wake of Guaido declaring a coup on Uprising. Same fucking shit. But it's not sparked by outside forces. I mean, the fact that he happened to coordinate with, what's his name, Pompeo there, that's not a U.S. coup. That's the U.S. saying, yeah, if you want to do that, we'll back you tacitly because we would like to stop recognizing Maduro, who's already, declared more or less illegitimate by not only us, the United States, but by a lot of his neighbors, the Colombians, the Brazilians, and so forth. That's about all. Peace out.